Welcome back to the True Crime series. Today we are going to be looking at Ivan Milat, who committed the backpacker murders. This is one of the most prominent serial killing cases in Australia, and also the film Wolf Creek was actually based off this series of murders. So let's look at Ivan's background. So Ivan's father flew over from Croatia to Australia. He ended up meeting Ivan's mum and they ended up getting married a few years later at a very young age. Ivan's mum ended up giving birth to 14 children. That is a lot of kids, and my god, that woman deserves an award. However, the Milat family was also known to the local police. Growing up, Ivan's brother Boris claims that Ivan used to get into trouble and had a very cruel streak. He also believes that he had psychopathic tendencies from the age of 12 to 14, and also claims that he beheaded a dog with a machete. However, when Ivan got older, he ended up doing some petty crimes such as breaking and entry and robbery. However, when he became 17, according to Ivan's brother, he allegedly shot a taxi driver. Boris claims that this was a failed robbery attempt and he accidentally shot the taxi driver. Also, apparently an innocent person got convicted of the crime, so Ivan basically got away with this crime. In 1992 to 1993, bodies of 5 women and 2 men were found in the Belanglo State Forest. This was a quiet forest off the side of a highway, and apparently, according to investigators, if you did scream, no one would be able to hear you, which made it the perfect spot for killing. All the victims were aged 19 to 22, and they were all backpackers. The first body was found by 2 runners, and then the day after, the police found another body 30 metres away from the first one. These bodies were Joanna Waters and Caroline Clark. Joanna had been stabbed 21 times in the back and 14 times in the front, and Caroline Clark had been shot 10 times in the head. A further 5 bodies were recovered. They were Shimon Schmidt, Anna Hashbead, Gaber Neuenberger, James Gibson and Deborah Everest. One victim, Anya Hashbead, had actually been decapitated and her head has never been found. So how was he caught? Paul Onions ended up helping out with the investigation. It turns out he had a previous encounter with Milat. Milat ended up picking Paul Onions up, saying that he would take him to his next destination. However, Paul felt very uneasy and thought there was something wrong. Paul ended up making an excuse to stop the car. He got out of the car and started running. Milat ended up chasing after him with a gun and shooting at him. However, Paul managed to flag down another vehicle and escape. Investigators realised they had enough evidence to put Milat away for the attempted murder of Paul Onions. However, they wanted to see if he murdered the other 7 backpackers. So on May 22nd, 1994, police ended up going and raiding multiple Milat properties. In Ivan's home, they found multiple different currencies from the backpackers as he didn't travel. They also found a picture of Ivan's girlfriend wearing the victim's clothes. They also found a hidden rifle in the wall which were used to kill some of the victims. They also found similar ropes and ties used to bind the victims, and at other Milat properties they ended up finding more of the victims' clothing and personal belongings. So obviously he was arrested and ended up getting tried and found guilty for the 7 murders and was sent to 7 life sentences, 1 for each of the victims. So let's take a look at why he did it. Normally I dive into the background of killers because I believe that environmental factors cause a killer to be the way they are. However, this is very strange because Ivan had a similar upbringing as the rest of his siblings. So what made him stand out? What made him end up killing? From a young age, his brother Boris claims he had psychopathic tendencies. Now, not all psychopaths are killers. I think it's very circumstantial. I think maybe the fact that he was involved in crime, that according to Boris he accidentally shot the taxi driver and got away with it, maybe it gave him this sense of thrill and this sense of power over people, and maybe he carried that on into eventually killing. Another interesting fact as well is that the police officers claimed that Ivan had to be in control. This theory seems very applicable, the fact that he needed to be in control. The fact that even at the crime scenes he would tie the victims, the fact that he would drag their killings out was this sense of control, this sense of power that he had over them. He even brought this into his family, the fact that he was giving them clothing and items from the victims. Like he had control over them. I think also there was some operant conditioning involved, which is basically positive reinforcement given to someone. I don't think this was knowingly. I think Ivan would come home with some new gifts, sleeping bags, clothing, and they'll be like, oh, thank you, this is what I needed, this is what I want. And that would give Ivan positive reinforcement to carry on the killings. But that is just a theory. He also definitely had a sense of power over his family in the fact that he ended up sleeping with his brother's wife. That would be one thing that he would have kept over his brother. However, this is where it gets interesting, because now we're going to dive into the Milat family almost kind of feud that they had. So obviously we've heard Boris' side of the story that kind of corroborates the fact that Ivan did commit the crime. However, the rest of the Milat family believe that he was innocent. So we're going to take a little look into that. So Ivan's nephew was interviewed, and he was probably the only Milat that ended up getting interviewed other than Boris. He claims that Ivan was this lovely uncle that really cared for the family and was a good family guy. So he ended up writing letters to Ivan while Ivan was in jail, and Ivan claims that he was set up by a guy called Clive Smalls. His nephew also claims that Boris was just bitter since it was Ivan who had slept with his wife. However, none of this explains why the killing stopped right after Milat went to jail. Obviously, this was a very chilling case. If you have any thoughts and opinions on the case, please leave them in the comments below. I would be very interested to read them. However, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. That will really help me out. Subscribe. Why not? It's free. You can always unsubscribe later. And hopefully I will see you all in the next one. Bye!